Today, our mission is pretty focused. We're diving deep into Module 5 of the AI Prompting for SAT Success course.
Yeah, this is a big one.
It really is. If you've been following along with the foundational stuff, you know this is kind of the hinge point, right? We're not just reviewing content anymore. We're making a shift, moving from just being a basic AI user
Right.
to becoming more like a skilled AI engineer. That's
Yeah.
the goal here.
And that transformation, that idea of becoming an engineer, it's absolutely essential. I mean, this module is really that pivot point, moving from just knowing things to mastering a skill.
Okay.
And it hits, I think, the biggest frustration people have when they try to use these large language models for serious studying.
The generic answers, the stuff that doesn't quite hit the mark.
Exactly. The generic, sometimes time-wasting responses. So the core objective here, and the course puts it really well, they say, move beyond basic prompts by learning structured techniques like role-based and nested prompting to get more precise and comprehensive outputs.
More precise, more comprehensive. I like that. And I like that emphasis on engineer, too. It feels like it changes the whole game.
It does.
You're not just using a general tool anymore, like a Swiss Army knife that does a bit of everything okay.
Right. A bit blunt sometimes.
Yeah. You're turning it into a precision instrument, something specialized just for what you need for the SAT.
That's the perfect analogy.
So it stops being the sort of casual chat with a bot and becomes this very intentional, structured dialogue with a specific academic partner you've basically designed.
Exactly right. And the outcome we're aiming for, as the course says, is getting those precise, comprehensive, and contextually appropriate results. That's the key phrase.
Contextually appropriate. That sounds important.
It is, because this module, Module 5, it's really the key to unlocking genuine efficiency. You're moving past just, querying a huge database in a general way.
Right.
You're actually commanding a historian to analyze the why behind events. Or you're directing a data analyst to figure out the correlation in a graph. Or maybe you're even tasking a dedicated curriculum designer to build you a custom study module.
Wow. Okay. So it's about getting the AI to wear different hats depending on the task.
Precisely. And that specialized output, that's the difference maker. It's what separates, slow, frustrating progress from really systematic mastery of the SAT material.
Okay, so let's dig into that a bit more, this need for advanced techniques. I mean, when we first started using these AI tools, simple prompts seemed fine, right?
So for basic things.
Yeah, like explain the Pythagorean theorem or give me a practice test, simple stuff. But you mentioned they often lead to inefficiency. Why is that? Why is that back and forth interaction so, costly for someone trying to study effectively?
Well, the cost really adds up in two main areas. Study time, obviously, but also cognitive load. Think about it. Those basic single-line commands, they tend to give you pretty high-level, often generic responses. Let's take your example. Give me a practice test.
Right.
The AI might spit out, say, 5 DC questions. Okay, step 1 done. But then what?
Then I need the answers, so I have to ask, again, give me the answer key.
Exactly. Step 2. Then maybe you get question 3 wrong. So you ask, explain why answer C is correct on question 3. That's step 3.
And what if I need it explained differently? Like maybe I learn better with visuals or analogies.
Then you're prompting again. Step 4. Explain it like you're talking to a visual learner. See? Each step is a separate interaction, a separate prompt.
Ah, I see. So the inefficiency isn't just the typing, it's the constant stopping and starting. It breaks your concentration.
Precisely. It fragments your focus.
Yeah.
You end up spending more mental energy managing the conversation with the AI.
Than actually grappling with the SAT concept itself.
You got it. That's the core problem these advanced techniques in Module 5 are designed to solve. They help you establish structured dialogues.
Structured dialogues. Okay, tell me more about that.
This approach is specifically designed to let you execute complex, multi-step tasks, things like analysis, content creation, even assessment, all within a single, really efficient request.
One single prompt for multiple steps.
Essentially, yes. Think of it like pre-programming the AI's entire workflow for that specific task. You tell it the input, you define the internal process it needs to follow step by step, and you specify the structured output format you want at the end.
Okay, that sounds powerful.
It is. We're talking about potentially saving, maybe up to 70% of the time you'd normally waste chasing down those follow-up answers and clarifications.
70%, that's huge for SAT prep time.
It's significant. It shifts the burden.
So that structural control, it's really the heart of it. The course mentions 2 main techniques we need to get into: role-based prompting and nested prompts.
That's right. Those are the big 2 practical applications.
But wait, before we dive into those, the source material mentions something called the idea parts framework. That sounds like the foundation for all of this.
Yes, absolutely. It's the theoretical underpinning.
Yeah.
And understanding this framework is crucial because it basically gives you, the student, a mental checklist for crafting every prompt.
A checklist. I like checklists.
It ensures your prompts are comprehensive and structured right from the start. It fundamentally shifts the responsibility for output quality away from just hoping the AI gets it.
And puts it squarely on the person writing the prompt, the engineer.
Exactly, the prompt engineer. The ID parts framework mandates that your prompts cover specific elements to guarantee better results.
Okay, so let's break down parts. P-A-R-T-S. What does P stand for?
P is for persona, and that connects directly to the first technique we'll discuss, role-based prompting, assigning the AI a specific role.
Got it. Persona. What's A?
A is for aim. What's the ultimate goal? What specific outcome do you want the AI to achieve with this prompt? Clarity here is vital.
Makes sense. P for persona, A for aim.
R is for recipients. And this is one that, honestly, a lot of people overlook, especially when they're just prompting for themselves.
Wait, recipients, if I'm using the AI for my own SAT prep, isn't the recipient? Well, me. Why define it if it's just for my own use? That seems a bit redundant.
That's a really critical question. It seems redundant, but it's not. Think about how you want the information presented. Defining the recipient fundamentally changes the complexity, the tone, even the vocabulary of the AI's response.
How so? Give me an example.
Okay, let's say you define the recipient as a high school student who finds quadratic equations confusing and needs clear, simple steps. What kind of response do you think you'll get?
Probably something using simpler words, maybe analogies, definitely broken down step by step, maybe even a bit encouraging.
Exactly. Now, what if you define the recipient as a math tutor trying to understand the specific error pattern in a student's homework on quadratic equations?
Okay. Then I'd expect a much more technical response. Maybe using terms like discriminant error or sign mistake, focused on diagnosis rather than basic explanation.
Precisely. So defining the recipient forces the AI to tailor the pedagogy, the teaching style of its response, not just the wrong information. It fine-tunes the voice.
That makes perfect sense now. It's about controlling the instructional voice, not just the facts. Okay, PAR. What about T?
T is for theme. This dictates the overall tone or style you need. Should it be scholarly and formal, motivational and encouraging, clinical and analytical, highly technical?
So like for a history passage, I might want a scholarly theme, but for generating practice questions, maybe something more instructional or clinical.
Well, I've got it. Theme sets the mood and the approach.
Yeah.
And finally, S.
This must be structure.
Structure it is. And this is our gateway into the second technique, nested prompts. Structure defines the format of the output. Do you want a bulleted list, a comparative table, an analysis structured like a 5-paragraph essay, or, as we'll see, a complete practice module with specific sections?
Okay, PARTS. Persona, aim, recipients, theme, structure. By consciously thinking through all 5.
You are effectively maximizing the constraint mechanisms within the large language model. You're putting guardrails on its vast knowledge.
So we're moving beyond just hoping the AI guesses what we need. We're engineering the constraints to basically guarantee we get the kind of output we're looking for.
That's the leap. That's the Mastery Module 5 is about.
Okay, let's dive into that first big technique then. Role-based prompting. This is the P from parts of the persona. So we're assigning the AI a role, a job title. Act as a historian. Pretend you're a physics teacher. Adopt the viewpoint of a literary critic. It sounds almost theatrical.
A little bit, yeah.
But the course claims it fundamentally changes how the AI processes the request. Why? Why does giving the AI what's essentially a job title make such a profound difference in the output?
Well, think about what these large language models are. They're trained on just unbelievable amounts of text data, right? Basically the entire digital history of human writing, more or less.
Okay, a vast ocean of information.
Exactly. So when you assign a specific persona, act as a historian specializing in 19th century American politics, you're essentially forcing the LLM to filter that entire ocean of knowledge through a very specific, highly relevant, and crucially constrained lens.
So it's like putting blinders on it, but in a good way, focusing its attention.
Precisely. It activates what we sometimes think of as specialized submodels or knowledge weights within the larger model. You're telling it which specific expert corner of its vast training data it should draw from.
So if I just ask a generic question about, say, the Roman Empire, I get the usual general facts and dates.
Okay. Surface level stuff.
But if I ask it to respond as a classicist specializing in the economics of the late Roman Republic,
Then you trigger a different response pattern. It will likely use more specialized vocabulary words like latifundia, debasement, annona, and focus on economic causal factors, drawing on patterns it learned from texts written by or about specialists in that specific field.
okay, so you're activating the knowledge specifically linked to that job title.
Exactly. And this activation leads directly to the three big benefits the course outlines for role-based prompting. First, as we've been saying, precision and expertise.
Makes sense. It narrows the focus so you get deeper, more specialized knowledge, more like consulting an actual expert.
Right, authoritative perspectives.
Yeah.
Second, engagement and deeper understanding. The responses feel more dynamic, more memorable. Why? Because the language itself changes.
How so?
Well, a historian uses words like causality, context, narrative arc. A data analyst talks about correlation, variance, statistical significance. Using the specific vocabulary of a field actually helps you learn and internalize the concepts of that field. It makes the content stickier.
That's a great point. The language shapes the thinking. And the third benefit.
The third one is flexibility for different audiences, which ties back to the recipient part of parts. By changing the role, you can easily tailor the complexity and style.
So I could ask it to act as a university professor if I want a really rigorous, high-level explanation.
Yeah.
Or I could ask it to act as, say, a friendly high school peer tutor if I need something broken down very simply, step by step.
Exactly. That level of customization is what really transforms a generic chatbot into your own personalized academic partner. It aligns the response perfectly with where you are in your learning journey, whether you're just starting out with a topic or you're doing advanced error analysis on your practice tests.
Okay, this makes a lot of sense. Let's make it concrete. How does this apply specifically to the SAT? The course gives examples, right?
It does. Let's look at the reading and writing section first, particularly those sometimes dense narrative-driven historical passages.
Oh, yeah, those can be tough. Sometimes you understand the basic story, but the questions ask about the significance or the implications and the deeper context.
Exactly. And that's where students often trip up. They get the what, but miss the why it mattered. A basic summary prompt just won't cut it for understanding that deeper historical context or the connections to broader trends.
So role-based prompting is perfect here.
Ideal. The course provides a really stellar example prompt. It doesn't just say, act as a historian. It gets super specific. Listen to this.
Okay.
Act as a historian, specializing in 19th century American frontier development. Analyze this SAT passage about the Pony Express. Explain its cultural impact, operational challenges, and why it was ultimately replaced by the telegraph, highlighting what this shift reveals about America's communication evolution.
Wow, okay. That's not just a role, that's practically a mini thesis prompt. Specializing in 19th century American frontier development.
See the level of constraint there? That specificity is crucial. It stops the AI from giving you a generic lecture on global communication history or the invention of the telegraph worldwide.
Right, it forces it to stay focused on the specific pressures, the technologies, the social shifts that were happening right there, right then, relevant to the Pony Express.
Exactly. It has to think like someone whose expertise is precisely that period topic.
So let's talk results. Can you give a concrete example of the kind of insight, maybe that causality you mentioned that this historian role might provide, which a generic prompt would likely miss entirely?
Sure. A generic prompt asking, why was the Pony Express replaced by the telegraph? Might just say, well, the telegraph was faster and more reliable, which is true, but basic.
Okay.
The historian persona, though, especially one focused on frontier development in that era, would likely dig deeper. It might connect the rapid adoption of the telegraph not just to its speed, but to the intense escalating political and economic pressures across a nation, expanding westward, and crucially, heading towards the Civil War.
Ah, so linking it to bigger forces.
Precisely. The historian might explain that reliable, instantaneous communication suddenly became a strategic imperative for the federal government, for the military, for burgeoning industries. The Pony Express, with its reliance on horses and riders, its vulnerability to weather and attacks, its inherent slowness over vast distances, it suddenly looked like an unacceptable liability in this new context.
That's a much richer explanation. It's not just faster, it's strategically necessary due to escalating national pressures.
Exactly. That level of causal linkage, understanding the why behind the what, is precisely what those harder SAT comprehension questions are often testing.
That really clarifies the benefit. The AI isn't just summarizing, it's providing layered causality, deep connections. It moves you, the student, beyond just recalling facts towards genuine historical analysis, which, as you said, is critical for nailing those questions about the author's purpose or the relationship between ideas in the passage.
Perfectly put. Now let's pivot. Let's take this same thinking, using a specific role for deeper insight, and apply it to the math section.
Okay, math, where does it fit there?
Specifically, data analysis. You know those questions, there are usually, what, 5 to 7 of them on the digital SAT? The ones involving charts, graphs, scatter plots, tables of data?
Yep, interpreting data displays. Sometimes tricky.
Very. And precision in how you interpret that data is absolutely paramount. A simple mistake in reading a trend can lead you way off track.
Right. And I can see how a student might be tempted to just ask the AI, solve the equation for this scatter plot.
Exactly. But often, the SAT questions require more than just calculation. They ask you to describe the trend first, or interpret the relationship between the variables before you even get to the numbers.
So the conceptual understanding is key.
It is. And this is where you need to put on the data analyst hat. The course suggests another excellent prompt template for tackling these complex visuals.
Let's hear it.
You are a data analyst. Here is an SAT math question with a scatter plot showing crop yields versus land use over 20 years. First, describe the trend shown in the data. Second, identify any potential outliers and explain their significance. Finally, explain the likely relationship between the two variables based on the statistical pattern observed.
Okay, what strikes me there is that the prompt isn't asking the AI to just find the answer to the SAT question.
Exactly. That's the critical distinction.
It's asking the AI to model the step-by-step thought process a skilled data analyst would use before solving it. Describe the trend, look for outliers, interpret the relationship.
You nailed it. By forcing the AI into the data analyst persona, you're making it use the specific vocabulary and analytical steps of statistics, talking about correlation, variance, trend lines, maybe even residuals or confidence intervals.
So when I, the student, review that AI response,
you're essentially getting a master class in how to break down data-driven problems systematically. It's invaluable practice, especially for those tricky questions that ask you to distinguish between correlation and causation, or to explain what the slope or the A-intercept actually means in the real-world context of the problem.
That's often the harder part, isn't it? For many students, clearly articulating the trend or describing the relationship in words before calculating is actually tougher than the calculation itself.
It really is. This kind of prompt forces you to practice that critical, descriptive, and interpretive skill.
Okay.
It strengthens your ability to really understand what the statistics and the relationships between variables are telling you. And that's fundamental to mastering that whole data analysis subsection of the digital SAT.
Okay, that's role-based prompting down. Let's move on to the second major advanced technique in Module 5, nested prompts, or sometimes called multi-step prompts.
Exactly. They're essentially the same idea.
And this seems to build directly on the structure from that idea parts framework we talked about.
It does, very directly.
So this is the art of bundling multiple tasks, multiple instructions into a single structured request, like giving the AI a detailed sequence of operations.
Precisely. Think of it as handing the AI a detailed itinerary or a trail map for a complex journey, instead of just giving it one destination at a time. Nested prompts are really the foundation of true learning efficiency with these tools.
Efficiency again, that seems to be the watchword.
It is, because they move the AI beyond being just a passive answer machine. With nested prompts, it becomes an active curriculum generator almost.
Yeah.
By defining the exact sequence of steps it needs to take and the format you need for the output, you ensure a response that's coherent, high quality, comprehensive, and immediately useful.
Okay, and we touched on the benefits earlier. First, efficiency, obviously. You're running multi-stage tasks, maybe analysis, then creation, then refinement, then assessment, all in one go.
Right. Eliminates that constant back and forth reprompting, saves a ton of time.
Second, structured output. Because you dictated the structure right in the prompt, the response comes back organized, logical, easy to read and use for studying. No more trying to piece together 5 different AI answers into something coherent.
Exactly. You get it formatted the way you need it first time.
But let's dig into the third benefit you mentioned, deeper analysis. Now, this is where I had a question earlier. If I have to type out, say, 4 distinct steps in my nested prompt, isn't that basically the same amount of work as just asking 4 separate questions, one after the other? Where's the intellectual advantage of bundling them? Why does nesting lead to deeper analysis?
That is the key question about nested prompts. And the intellectual benefit, the reason it leads to deeper analysis, lies in forcing the AI to maintain context and coherence across the entire sequence of operations.
Okay, explain that. Maintain context.
Think about it. When you ask 4 separate standalone questions, the AI often treats each one as a fresh start. It might lose the thread, or the nuances from the previous answer might not carry over effectively.
Right, it might answer step 3 without really remembering the specifics of step 1.
Exactly. But when you embed those steps within a single nested prompt, you're explicitly telling the AI, Step 2 must build logically on Step 1. Step 3 must synthesize insights from Steps 1 and 2. This layered instruction compels the AI to look for deeper connections, to ensure consistency, and to provide more nuanced insights because the synthesis between steps becomes mandatory, not optional.
Ah, I see. So the structure itself forces a kind of internal cross-referencing within the AI's process for that single request.
Precisely. It forces continuity of thought. It trains both you in crafting the prompt and the AI in executing it to think sequentially, critically, and synthetically about a complex task.
That is brilliant. It's fundamentally changing the internal process to ensure that continuity. Okay, let's see it in action. First application, back to the reading and writing section, specifically for analyzing arguments.
Yes, a core SAT skill.
Definitely. The SAT demands you not only understand what an author is arguing, but also how strong their evidence is, what their assumptions are, maybe even identify rhetorical strategies or potential weaknesses.
And that kind of analysis is inherently complex, right? It's multi-layered. You can't just summarize. To really master an argumentative passage, you need to grasp the main point, sure, but then you need to actively consider the other side, the counter-arguments, the weaknesses, then maybe synthesize it all.
Okay, so it's a multi-step mental process.
It is. And the course suggests a really effective 4-step framework for tackling this with a nested prompt. Summarize, counter-support, synthesize.
Summarize, counter-support, synthesize. Okay, let's see the example. The source provides a detailed nested prompt for analyzing an argument about renewable energy. This sounds like it will really show the intellectual heavy lifting.
It does. Here it is. I need an in-depth analysis of this argumentative passage about renewable energy. 1. Summarize. First, concisely present the author's main argument and key supporting premises. 2. Counter. Second, identify and list 3 potential counter-arguments or significant weaknesses in the author's position. 3. Support. Third, for each of those 3 counter-arguments, provide a specific example, piece of evidence, or line of reasoning that a critic might use to support that counter. 4. Synthesize. Finally, integrate the author's argument and the counter-arguments into a brief, cohesive summary that reflects the complexity and nuance of the ongoing debate surrounding renewable energy.
Wow. Okay, that's quite a sequence. Let's break it down. Step 1, summarize. That's basic comprehension.
Right, let's start there. What's the core claim?
Step 2, counter. Now we're moving into critical thinking, finding the flaws or alternative views.
Exactly, playing devil's advocate.
Step 3, support. This is crucial. It's not enough to just name a counter-argument. You have to provide the evidence or reasoning for that counter-argument. That demands deeper research or logical inference from the AI.
Right, it forces the AI to substantiate the critique, not just state it.
And step 4, synthesize, bringing it all together, showing the different facets of the debate. That's really high-level integration.
Absolutely. That sequence commands the AI to move deliberately from passive understanding, summarize, up through critical evaluation, counter and support, and finally land on expert-level integration and nuance, synthesize. It essentially turns your review of a reading passage into a rigorous training session for intellectual sparring.
It's like you're tasking the AI to be your opposition research team, building the strongest possible case against the author's argument.
Which, paradoxically, is often the very best way to truly understand the strengths and limitations of the original argument itself.
So the benefit here is crystal clear. This nested prompt structure trains you, the student, to automatically look at any issue from multiple evidence-backed perspectives. It builds that critical analysis muscle.
Exactly. And that comprehensive preparation is invaluable for those SAT questions that hinge on really understanding an author's claims, the sufficiency of their evidence, their assumptions, or predicting their rhetorical strategy. You learn not just what the author said, but importantly what they didn't say or what they overlooked.
Learning to see the gaps. Powerful. Okay, let's move to the second application of nested prompts. And this one sounds like it could be, well, incredibly useful for busy students. Creating custom practice drills.
Ah, yes. This one is potentially the biggest efficiency gain in the entire module, especially for targeted studying.
For any section. Right. Reading, writing, math.
Any section. This uses the nested prompt structure to generate a complete tailored study module on a specific topic you need help with, all in one go.
So this really embodies that shift from just scattered practice, doing random problems here and there, to systematic focus mastery.
Precisely. Let's say you just took a practice SAT, got your score report back, and realized, uh-oh, I bombed the questions on systems of linear equations.
Okay, a common weak spot.
Right. Now, the old way would be what? You'd maybe Google, what are systems of linear equations? Get a definition. Then you'd search for SAP practice problems, systems of linear equations, find some examples. Then you'd need to find an answer key somewhere else. Then maybe look for explanations. It's fragmented, time-consuming.
Yeah, lots of searching, clicking, compiling. Takes ages.
But with a nested prompt, you can execute a single comprehensive command to build the entire learning unit for you. The source provides a fantastic template for generating a custom math module.
Let's hear this one. This sounds like a game changer.
Create an educational module focused on the SAT math topic, systems of linear equations. Structure it as follows. 1. Define. First, provide a clear, concise, student-friendly definition of what a system of linear equations represents. 2. Explain outcomes. Second, clearly explain the 3 possible solution outcomes, one solution, no solution, and infinitely many solutions, and provide a simple conceptual example illustrating each case. 3. Illustrate with problems. Third, create 2 original SAT-style word problems that specifically require setting up and solving a system of linear equations. Ensure they reflect typical SAT complexity. 4. Assess with key. Finally, provide a detailed step-by-step answer key for the 2-word problems you just created. Make sure the algebraic methods like substitution or elimination are clearly shown.
Okay. Wow, that is genuinely impressive. Let's count the tasks baked into that single prompt. Definition. Conceptual explanation of the 3 outcomes with examples. Creation of 2 unique SAT-style practice problems. And generation of a full step-by-step answer key showing the work.
4 distinct, complex, and pedagogically essential tasks, all bundled.
Definition, context, practice, assessment, all delivered in one structured output from a single request.
Exactly. The student hits enter and gets back a ready-to-use, perfectly aligned mini-curriculum tailored precisely to their identified weak spot.
The benefit here feels massive. It's not just saving time searching, it's getting a complete, customized study resource created on demand, perfectly targeting your specific needs.
It shifts the whole paradigm. You move from that often chaotic self-study process where maybe half your time is wasted just finding and organizing material,
to systematic, targeted mastery of a clearly defined concept. The AI does the grunt work of curriculum design.
That's it. This is where the AI truly steps up from being just an information source to becoming your personal curriculum designer, working 24/7, ready to build exactly what you need, exactly when you need it.
That really demonstrates the transformation Module 5 offers. We've genuinely moved the AI from being like a simple calculator or dictionary
to being a sophisticated partner that can manage the entire life cycle of learning a specific concept, all the way from initial definition through to final assessment. It's a huge leap. Hashtag tag outro. So let's try to synthesize this. Let's bring it all together. The core takeaway from Module 5 really is this. Mastering these advanced techniques is the absolute difference between just having a handy digital tool and possessing a truly specialized, highly efficient intellectual partner for your SAT prep.
A partner, not just a tool. I like that.
Yeah. We've seen how mastering role-based prompting, getting that persona right, ensures the output has the right tone, the right level of expertise, the right vocabulary for the task. It filters the knowledge.
Optimized for the job.
Right. And then mastering nested prompts, getting that structure right, ensures the output is properly organized, it's complete, it has that intellectual depth because of the required synthesis between steps.
Perfect structure, perfect depth.
Exactly. So when you put those together,
it means that you, the listener, the learner, you're now equipped to do some pretty sophisticated things. You can execute complex analyses of text or data. You can generate high-quality, custom study material pretty much on demand. You've essentially bypassed the hours and hours you might have spent manually trying to piece together study guides, or chasing down generic definitions online, or trying to invent practice problems yourself.
It's a massive shortcut. A shortcut to being systematically prepared, deeply informed, and ready for basically any nuance the digital SAT decides to throw at you. You're controlling the information flow.
Controlling the tools, not just using them?
Precisely. And that leads us to the final, maybe provocative thought, something to really connect this back to your ultimate goal, which is that top score.
Okay, leave us with something to think about.
Well, think about this. The real key to hitting those highest SAT scores probably isn't just knowing the core content. I mean, most serious students study the content, right?
True. Everyone reads the textbooks, does the drills.
The real competitive advantage, especially now with these tools, might lie in knowing how to control the tools that help you learn, analyze, and practice that content most effectively. It's about meta-learning.
Learning how to learn better, using the AI strategically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the question for you, the listener, is this. How are you going to take these advanced techniques we've discussed today, the power of the specific persona, the efficiency of the multi-step structure, and apply them strategically to find and then systematically eliminate the specific blind spots revealed in your next practice test? How will you engineer your prompts to build your perfect study plan?